welcome to another edition of Barca Fan Voice. Today I'm going to be looking at two stories. One is the naming rights of Camp Nou and the other is the Players' Union's doubts about returning to training, which could mean a delay to return to football. Now, you've probably all seen the story that Barca have sold the naming rights for Camp Nou and they intend to donate the money from this to charity and the investigation into the coronavirus. Now, this all sounds fantastic, of course, and we should probably all support this. You can see in the papers calling it a brilliant challenge and suggesting that all the, more than just a club motto really stands for something. And this is all fantastic, but it does remind me of when Barca used to have no publicity on the shirts. You remember that? And how that changed when they brought in UNICEF first and everything looked fantastic. You think, it's helping to save children, fantastic. And then a couple of years later, it was the Qatar Foundation. And, it's a foundation, they're doing good, they're blah, blah, blah. Then it was Qatar Airways, and now they'll just sell it to anybody. And I imagine with the naming of the stadium, it's the same thing. Okay, first we'll give some money to charity, but it's a way of getting people used to the idea that the stadium will now have a commercial name. Now, this doesn't really have to be a big deal because everyone's going to call the stadium Camp Nou, as they always have done. It will just be, in the press, they'll have to call it by its official name, I imagine. But as a stadium will be the same stadium, I don't think people are going to change their habits and call it something else. Maybe I'm just cynical, I don't know. I don't really care if they want to sell the naming rights of Camp Nou, if they want to put publicity on a shirt, it's money for the club. Now, this morning there was a story from the Daily Mirror, I believe it came from the Daily Mail originally, that the British businessman Alki David is interested in making a bid for the naming rights. Now, I think first he should learn that the name is Camp Nou and not Now Camp, or maybe the Daily Mirror should learn this. So the name being suggested would be SwissX Now Camp, according to the Daily Mirror. Well, I think it should at least be SwissX Camp Nou, but anyway, what do you think about this? Now, there's probably not a lot in this story. We know it's a bit of a silly season at the moment for sports journalists. I imagine there may be some interest, of course, but whether anything will come of this story, well, we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, now moving on to the next story, which is that of the Players' Union, who've expressed doubts over the football authorities' plans for the return to training and the procedures suggested. The reports are suggesting that the players are unhappy with two aspects of the proposals. The first is the idea that the players should have regular testing for the coronavirus, and there seem to be two parts to this. One is that the players are unhappy at being the first to be tested in this, I suppose they're worried that the authorities have not properly tested the tests before being used on the players, so they're worried about the safety of it. And the second aspect of this is that they're unhappy that the frontline workers in Spain, the hospital workers, etc., are not getting tested. So why should the footballers be ahead of the frontline workers? The second aspect that the players aren't happy about is the idea that they'd have to be concentrated, isolated as a group in a hotel or the training ground for 2 weeks before getting back to competition. Now, obviously, players have their families, they like to spend time with their families, and 2 weeks away is a long time. What do you think about this? There are many workers who have to be separated from their family for work, unfortunately. Do you think the players should make this sacrifice? And probably more important, is it necessary for them to make the sacrifice? Now, I have to come out on the side of the players here. They don't want to be used as guinea pigs or as merchandise. But it seems that those in power, there's a lot of money in play. They think they can just set the protocols in place and the players will all just accept it. It doesn't look like it's going to be that easy. So all in all, it seems that the return to football is going to be more complicated than we might have hoped for. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So let me know what you think. Are the players overreacting? Do you support them? Do you think the 2-week isolation period is necessary for them? Send us a comment down in the comment section. And if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. I'll be back on Monday with some more. Until then, Biscal Barca. Bye for now.